Since hip-hop's inception, there's always been a steady presence of jazz within the genre. Whether that's been through sampling of jazz records or original jazz rap beats, there's no denying its influence on groups and artists such as The Roots, A Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Common, J Dilla, and even more recently with Pharrell and the Neptunes. The Blue Note label that we discussed in class has also continued this hip-hop jazz fusion with a number of their artists such as Robert Glasper and Jose James. However, I want to redirect the focus just a little bit. Just as musicians have blended jazz into hip-hop and rap, a similar culturation can be seen and heard with jazz and hip-hop within American and Japanese pop culture. To explain, I'll use two primary examples. Jun Seiba, otherwise known as Nujabes, which is the reverse spelling of his name in Japanese order, was a DJ-producer from Japan who recently died in a car accident in February of 2010. Before his passing, Nujabes gained widespread acclaim for his unique and innovative approach to hip-hop. Nearly all of his musical production centered around the influence of jazz and atmospheric sound, which created a mellow ambiance. The producer also collaborated with numerous artists and rappers including Shingo 2, Pawnee B, 5Ds, CL Smooth, Fat John, and British rapper Funky DL. His sound was undeniably influenced by the Japanese culture around him, but because of his hip-hop background and collaboration with American artists, he was able to fuse both into a distinct subculture. That subculture has been further influenced by Japanese anime and manga. Today we see how popular it has become within American media and culture. Every Barnes & Noble store sells tons of manga, and many of the top teen shows are anime series. So how does this relate back to jazz and hip-hop, right? Well, let's take a look at the anime series Samurai Champloo. Samurai Champloo, first broadcasted in Japan in 2004 and later dubbed in English for North American audiences, was an anime historically set in the Edo period, which took place between 1603 and 1867. However, despite the historical setting, the show takes a very modern approach musically and aesthetically. I should mention that Nujabes is the main musical producer of the show. So what we now have is Japanese anime with North American overtones and influences. In between takes, you might hear the mixing of music and record scratching before going to a commercial, or intense hip-hop instrumentals during the heat of battle, which just goes to show you that hip-hop and jazz don't have to be confined just to American culture. In class, we briefly touched on the artist, producer, rapper Flying Lotus during one of our guest lectures on Blue Note. Stephen Ellison, otherwise known as Flying Lotus, is the cousin of Ravi Coltrane and also the great-nephew of Alice Coltrane, the wife of saxophone legend John Coltrane. Just from that, you can get an idea of the musical lineage that he hails from. Those are also some pretty big shoes to fill, but FlyLo fills them differently, albeit in a very good way. The production of his music tends to focus on raw electronic instrumentals combined with hip-hop, jazz, funk, heck even the blues. Take a listen to this song and tell me you can pinpoint exactly what genre he should be placed in. There's a ton of places that you can find his music because he's such a sought-after commodity. He could be in the recording studio with Erykah Badu, Tom York, Tyler the Creator, or Childish Gambino. And it's likely that if you watch Cartoon Network's Adult Swim TV programming block, which by the way contains the vast majority of the Japanese anime programming in the US, you've probably heard Flying Lotus's music without even realizing it. One can only imagine the musical masterpieces that FlyLo and Nujabes could have made had they had the opportunity to collaborate. But more importantly, their presence within a spectrum that mixes jazz, hip-hop, and other genres has created a musical revolution of creativity that spans multiple cultures and identities that indulge in them.
only do them nights. Dirt, burn candles by the dust. Tonight we so fire. Sheer energy release to melt the heart. Mind star boys come on to wax. You get relaxed, unrest, unless undressed in the core.